Good evening, everyone. So exciting, exciting times on the stock market. It has been a really crazy day today. So I think, everyone knows about the recent news on trade tariffs. So Donald Trump is trying to bring back chip manufacturing to the United States. Oh, so what does this mean? Basically, a lot of the semiconductor chip manufacturers like AMD, Intel, Texas Instruments, so many of these are actually made in Asia, as we all know. So let's look at Intel. So let me try and bring up Intel on the big charts here. Don't worry, we're getting into Nvidia. Nvidia is obviously the big one in this area, but let's try and look into Intel first. And I will explain a bit about Intel and why I think Intel is maybe has some things to it. So let's look at where Intel's in, right? We've seen Intel seeing huge declines, right? Huge declines, right? And a lot of this huge decline is basically Intel chips are terrible, right? I mean, we all know it, right? Apple's using the new Apple Silicon chips, which is basically built on ARM technology, and they're using foundries like TSMC to build this in. No one's using Intel in kind of high-end things anymore, and we're seeing, the Chinese are building their own kind of chips. So I think Intel's days are not in a great situation, but this does mean that they have a potential to be bought by maybe someone like Nvidia or TSMC or one of the other chip manufacturers. So exciting times there. So let's look at where Nvidia is and why I am bullish on Nvidia. I mean, I'm always bullish on Nvidia. You know, we've seen a little bit of a dip, right? This is a great time to get in on a dip. So when I see dips, I think, Nvidia is, one of my favorite stocks this year, and it's just done so well. I mean, if we look at it from here, right, with 97 to almost 200, right? This has been a huge year for Nvidia, right? We're seeing huge growth there, right? Right, 86, 186, right? You could have made $100 on that, right? In when are we looking here? April to, August. I mean, it's awesome. So when we're seeing a little bit of a dip, it's not the biggest dip, but it's a little bit of a dip. Yeah, I think there's opportunity, right? There's only one Nvidia. Nvidia is like a gold stock, right? It really is an amazing opportunity here. So, Nvidia, awesome stock. Where else do we have in the semiconductor industry, right? And where are we seeing massive hits on this, right? We're seeing massive hits on this and I'm just looking down on the side on here, Nvidia, there we are, down 6.6%, right? Huge down. But huge opportunity, right? This is a huge opportunity in AMD. I mean, when I see shares go down like 6.6% in one day, huge opportunity to get in here on Nvidia. Huge opportunity to get in on AMD as well. AMD, again, massive chip thing, right? AMD might be looking into purchasing some of the kind of Intel. AMD's, building kind of better and better chips. The AI race is getting big. We've seen this in Google stocks the other day we were talking about, and how the AI race is so important and how his chips are important. Obviously, the trade tariffs with Trump and AMD making their chips outside of the US put some kind of risk on this. But as we've always seen with the tariffs and the administrations, right? These tariffs, they flip and they move around all the time. So when I see these dips and I see these opportunities, I think, especially when these are so linked to the volatility of tariffs, I see this as a huge opportunity to get in on these chips, right? So I see this, when I start drawing these lines out, right? And I draw here, right? And I see this, these are huge opportunity lines here, right? And if I try and draw this back to other opportunity lines that I've seen in the past, right? Up here, right? And if we try and bring this out, right? Yeah, AMD's at an all-time high. Yes, it is. That's true. But some of these chips have such a way to go, right? I mean, I think, AMD, Intel, Nvidia, these are all great things. And there are other chips in here as well. So, we can look here at other, technology companies in here, right? We've got Texas Instruments, again, seeing a little bit of a boost in there. And we've also got where are we on here on the other? We got STM Micro should be in here as well. Here's STM, right? So another chip manufacturer in here. So STM's using a lot of kind of automotive and things like that, low power chips. Huge opportunity there, right? And we've seen this kind of move down. Let me try and draw some lines on this for you guys. I don't really like purple as much. Let me give it a different color. Let's give it some orange, right? We're seeing some great lines on this as well, right? So we saw that kind of falling down, but then if we try and bring that looking kind of in more recent terms, and then we try and bring this over, I think, we've seen a lot of down on this, especially just some of these risks on the things. But, you know, if we try and draw this out, I think that, we're seeing this down here at what sort of 20, 25 cents. I think this can very easily quickly go up to sort of 33 cents, something like this. So I think, again, STM, awesome opportunity in it. Awesome opportunity. Yeah, awesome opportunity. But Nvidia, like I've said, there is only one Nvidia. It doesn't matter how we cut Nvidia. Nvidia really has a lot of upside on the Nvidia to this. Let's try and draw some guidance lines on this. Everyone's getting involved in Nvidia. I mean, I don't even know a time where you can do anything without AI. I mean, we're all using AI in basically everything we do. So people who think that they can run things without AI, is just, you know, such a great opportunity. So I've just drawn this out here. You know, every morning I wake up and I just think, man, more NVIDIA, more NVIDIA. If only we could put more NVIDIA, back in like, the beginning of 2024. Such an opportunity, such a great opportunity. Yeah. So who else is using AI, right? We're seeing Microsoft using AI. Great opportunity, right? Look at this, and I think we talked about Microsoft a little bit the other day. So we're seeing, huge growth up here in Microsoft. I see this really is like an AI boom in stocks recently. Let's go back to NVIDIA again, and we can even bring up some of the kind of news on NVIDIA as well. So if we go here and we go to NVIDIA, right, we can look at some of the news on NVIDIA. And we're pulling up NVIDIA stocks to talk about news in NVIDIA and really what's happening with NVIDIA. So, where are we getting? And we can even pull this up on Wall Street Journal as well. So let's go here on Wall Street Journal, NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA Corporation, right? And what are we looking at here on NVIDIA, right? Again, great kind of news coverage. Also Nvidia, looking at this article here, which I think people have probably read, that came out just a couple days ago. This is talking about Nvidia basically being able to strike deals with China, so Nvidia will be able to sell those high-powered chips to China, which is again a great opportunity.